doing it.
He's a young fella.
No, but he's still doing all the...
I like the way you say, well, he's our age.
He's still doing all the DJing and stuff.
Yeah, but he's still, sure, you keep going. Sure, so it's only a number. My dad would say, age is only a number, but I felt it last night, I'll tell you. I pulled a muscle or something in my calf last night.
Oh, no.
It's week 3 of tennis on a Wednesday night.
That's why it's good not to have muscles, because I can't pull anything.
The muscles from Brussels. No,
I
but you weak calf muscle. I ran to hit the ball.
I did say to you on Sunday, and I can say, I do believe you're too old for tennis. I think you should stick to swimming.
You're arse.
No, genuinely. I think you can't say that word.
Right.
I think you should stick to swimming, low impact stuff. I think you're too old for tennis.
Not at all.
Yeah. Your groin's going to go next, and then you're completely banjaxed.
No, it's not. It's there. What I was going to say to you, but so I just ran to hit the ball, right? And then I just got this...
Who were you playing with?
Oh, there was like
a whole group of people.
Yeah,
right?
there was 3 people. What is it called? Doubles, is it? I'm only learning, right?
Yes.
And I'm pretty useless enough, but this was my worst night ever, and I had to pull out short because of the thing. But here's one for you. I was seeing double. Yeah. You can imagine the ball coming to you, right? And there was like 2 balls coming, but it was only 1 ball. It sounds mad. It was the glare of the lights.
I really think you're too old for that.
I could see double things, and then the more I focused on it, and so I was trying to hit the ball, and I was missing the ball.
Which ball?
Yeah. This is the one. And then this is
so
right.
So you're standing there, right, out of breath of this, and then you've got these 2 balls coming at your face.
I didn't know which balls I hit, honest to God.
My word.
So I said to myself, right, I'll go in now and get the glasses. The glasses are only for reading, right, and these computers in front of me. And then I didn't help. So then I threw it back, and I was missing easy balls.
But by the time it became clear with your glasses, it'd be right up close to your face.
Oh no, it was no good.
Right.
So I just put it down to the glare of the floodlights.
Yeah,
I'm going to wear baseball glasses. And I was thinking I could wear sunglasses, but then you'd be trying to...
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I just think maybe you don't want to be careful.
I'm overstretching it, do you think?
Overstretch the organs,
okay. Right.
So I was in composing mode last night because I was bored.
All right.
I composed a song about
right.
the secret sound.
You did not.
I did, yeah. I've made one for Shannon. It plays out on Friday. And I've got one for you here. Do you want to hear it?
Oh,
you have to give me marks out of 10.
All right, okay.
And I kind of went for a big cinema sound.
Classical type thing?
No.
Is there a bit of a...
The naughty alarm clock rings. What is the secret sound?
That sounds all right.
Not a stapler. Not returning your plastic bottles. It sounds different when you hear it on the telephone.
I'm liking it.
Millions are on the line. What is the secret sound?
That's good.
Yeah, do you like it?
That's AI. What do you think of that?
No, that's not AI. I wrote that myself.
Oh, you did my backside. Don't what do you think? Is that mad? Superb. I think it's good. Bar the millions.
Do you want to hear it one more time?
I'm going ahead.
But don't
there.
speak over it, please, because
okay.
this took me ages. Because you get out what you put in, right?
Oh, okay.
The naughty alarm clock rings. What is the secret sound? Not a stapler. Not returning your plastic bottles. It sounds different when you hear it on the telephone. Millions are on the line. What is the secret sound?
Not bad.
You could ever use it.
I'm just thinking, after the program there, so see all the incorrect callers or answers that we have, I have a compilation of them. So when you were playing that for the second time, I was thinking, you could really make a tune out of it. Do you know what I get?
You always just won't say, you know what, Greg, you did really, really well. That's fantastic. Everything has to have a caveat.
But
you could do this, you could make it better.
Stop. You just want me to pat you on the back. You did a good job, right? But I'm just thinking, how could I add some bells and whistles to it?
It feels like being at home.
But I just really want to add some local content to it, so I could have all the incorrect answers mixed into that and jive it up a bit. What do you think, Donald? I think we're getting there. But Greg, you did a great job. Thanks for spending 2 seconds.
I thought it was perfect. No, it wasn't actually. That took quite a long time.
That was good. So what piece of software did you do that? Go on, tell us now. What piece of software?
We're already out of a job.
Go on.
I am going. Bye-bye.
Tell us.
It is... no, I have to go now. No, there is no... it's not just software. There's different things.
Oh, don't you
I couldn't
overcomplicate
explain
it.
I couldn't explain it.
yeah.
Have a great day.
Love you.
Chat to you tomorrow morning. All right, 9:01. Let's get a news update. It's over to Donald Kavanagh, who is not AI.
Thank you very much indeed, Greg. Further explosions have rocked Iran overnight as the US-Israeli military campaign continues. The death toll is now around 1,000, according to Iranian state media. Israeli defense forces launched a fresh wave of strikes on both Iran and Lebanon before dawn. It also says it's intercepted Iranian missiles. Last night it was confirmed that the son of the assassinated Ayatollah Khamenei will become the Iranian supreme leader. Ex-NATO commander General Richard Sheriff, however, says that while the US may be getting victories at the moment, it faces the possibility of this conflict ending very badly.
The Americans might be getting frightfully excited about sinking submarines and X number of missions, bombing the Iranians to bits. But unless there's a strategy, unless they've thought through the impact of what they are doing on the minds of the Iranian people, this thing is going to go south.
Iranians launched their own wave of attacks overnight. State media is reporting a US oil tanker was hit by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in the northern Persian Gulf and is on fire. Meanwhile, the IRGC says in a statement that during the war, passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be under the control of Iran. Derry City and Strabane District Council says the appointment of integrated consultant teams to design regeneration plans for Strabane is a major step forward. Officials from the key partners of the Derry and Strabane City Region City Deal and Inclusive Fund projects say the official appointment of 5 ICTs will see the plans moving from visionary planning into active delivery. A portfolio of projects is planned that represents a £115 million investment in Strabane. With more, here's Donna Marie Doherty.
The Strabane Regeneration Project will see the reimagining of Strabane's historical canal basin area. That includes a new state-of-the-art leisure centre to replace the ageing Riversdale Centre, the creation of a primary care health hub that will bring together and consolidate medical services within the town centre, a new high-tech college campus that will anchor education and skills training, and a new pedestrian and cycle bridge to link the town centre with a public transport hub and make the area more accessible and eco-friendly. This investment is happening in tandem with the ongoing Strabane Town Centre Public Realm Scheme and the Cross-Border Riverine Project. The council says together these initiatives will transform Strabane's streetscape and wider area by improving lighting, footpaths and public spaces. Meanwhile, site preparations have just commenced at the car park on the site of the former Academy Boys School on the Derry Road.
Donegal County Council is being asked to provide an update on which safety signage will be erected on the road leading to the Old Forge outside Glengad. Councillor Ali Farron says there's a long straight leading into Glengad from the Malin site, which ends with a very sharp bend that can be difficult to anticipate, particularly at night. There have been numerous incidents at the bend, and Councillor Farron believes signage warning of the bend ahead would alleviate much of the problem.
There's been numerous amount of accidents at what we would know as the Forge Glengad. It's a 90-degree bend, and I've asked in the past for signage to be put on that corner to show it and to highlight it. As of yet, we still haven't got it in place. I just want to know when it will be delivered. We need it there, and we need it now.
3 people arrested yesterday in the Ballymoney area and the Waterside area of Derry as part of an ongoing investigation concerning suspected fraud have been released on bail to allow for further police inquiries. The arrests were made by detectives from the PSNI's CID. It followed reports received in May 2024 linked to a local council body. The Irish News is reporting today the arrests include a former senior official with Causeway Coast and Glens District Council. And the weather forecast: wet and cloudy with rain becoming widespread during the morning before clearing from the east by early afternoon. Cool with afternoon highs of 3 to 8 degrees Celsius. Moderate to fresh northwesterly winds will ease later. That's Highland Radio News. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
Meet the epic new Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. It's our most powerful smartphone yet. And thanks to its new privacy display, you can keep what's on screen visible only to you. So whether it's getting the goss from the group chat or watching your favourite guilty pleasure, keep it all for your eyes only with the Galaxy S26 Ultra. Pre-order now on Samsung.com and get 512 gigabytes of memory for the price of $256. Offer ends 10th of March. Operates as a price discount.
The talk of the Northwest. The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 6 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 5th of March 2026. And it's a damp enough all morning across the northwest. You would know if you're in situ. But hopefully it's a little bit better if you're listening to us a bit further afield, though the weather is going to improve for tomorrow and into the weekend, at least in terms of dryness and spring sunshine. And we're going to bring you plenty of sunshine over the course of the next hour and 54 minutes here on the Greg Hughes Show. So stick around if you want to get involved in the conversation, and lots of you do. And we really try and keep on top of all of the comments, and sometimes they slide into the next day, but we do try and read them all. They are not filtered in terms of importance, it's just the volume of them. It's really fantastic. So keep them coming into us. You can WhatsApp or text 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 07491 25,000. And we've got a loyal band of viewers that watch us every single day, and we invite you to join that if that suits you. You can watch on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, which means you can watch on your smart TV, your Fire Stick, your Google streaming device, but also on your mobile devices as well, or your laptop. And we're also across Facebook and on the X platform. Thursday's a busy morning for papers because lots of them come out. Let's start with the locals. The Tyrconnell Tribune: panic buying as fuel prices soar. With the price of motor fuel and home heating oil predicted to increase by 30 cents a litre over the weekend, suppliers said that many households are bulking up their fuel tanks in what is panic buying. The big winner is the Exchequer. It's bonanza time for them. The government collects substantial revenue from fuel taxes, with excise and carbon tax on petrol and diesel generating approximately €2.73 billion annually. So just to break it down, John McAteer and the team have government taxes and levels is 50 to 55% of the product you buy. Produce and operating costs, that's 45 to 50%. So the raw material, and it's not the raw material, the refined material is, so if you pay €2 a litre at the pump, €1 of that's the actual cost of the petrol or diesel. Carbon tax makes up 17%. Will make up 17%, but half of it is government tax. So they could give us a break if they wanted to. Total excise receipts on fuel was $6.5 billion last year. That is set to increase dramatically as Donald Trump continues to bomb Iran. The Donegal News also taking a local angle on this international story. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul is bracing for a rise in requests for assistance as fuel costs surge across Donegal. Locally, the price of 500 litres of home heating oil has skyrocketed by over €200 in just a matter of days, while diesel is creeping close to €2 per litre at some filling stations. The increase seen at the pumps has been linked to the ongoing unrest in the Middle East, and remarkably, and I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek, and I know it's a very serious issue, the impact of that war in the Middle East, it depends on where you are in Donegal. If you're on the east, it's you're getting hit, right? But if you're in the west, you seem to be getting hammered. And in the south, you're also getting hammered as well. I'm not sure about the north of the county, but you would imagine if this is solely down to the issues in the Middle East, that the price rises would be similar across the board. But we know they aren't. The Derry News' front story this morning: number of Crawford Square residents facing imminent homelessness. A significant number of tenants in rental accommodation in Derry's Crawford Square are facing imminent homelessness, having been served with notices to quit. The tenants currently living in the 10 apartments contained within number 5 and 6 Crawford Street were told they had to leave their homes by St. Patrick's Day. A housing executive spokesperson said it had recently been made aware of the Crawford Square notice to quit situation. Worrying time for those people. Right, I'm in contact. Not everybody wants to come on air. We will be speaking to some people who successfully made it out of the Middle East on flights that eventually have been put on. But there's this crazy situation. Wouldn't you think if we were scheduling flights to bring people home that it would be free, wouldn't you? But we're charging them, and when I say we, I mean the government, €800, beg your pardon. So a government charge of €800 for a seat on a charter flight from the Middle East has been described as a shakedown, not an evacuation. The government said it is bearing a portion of the cost for the Oman evacuation charter flight, but failed to answer questions about the scale of the contribution. The press release from Foreign Affairs Minister Helen McEntee announcing the evacuation flight tomorrow from Muscat, the capital of Oman, said it would benefit vulnerable citizens. But after details of the €800 cost for adult passengers emerged, Senator Patricia Stevenson said, "This is a shakedown, not an evacuation, so it's your money." Are you surprised that these flights that have been organised by the government to repatriate people It's €800 a seat. Would you have expected it to be free? Maybe the people over there have the money and they just do anything to get home, and that's fine. Or should we as a state be taking people home in these exceptional circumstances? Free of charge. There are some people in great distress, though. I've been in contact with a lady over there who has been watching flights come and go. They can't get a seat on them. And I was in contact with her this morning, and she was saying that they were told no flight was leaving Dubai Airport for Dublin for the next 2 days. So they got a flight from Dubai to Edinburgh, but now they've been offered one of those repatriation flights from Oman. €800 they've already paid. And Emirate reps then went to their hotel talking to all the stranded people, telling them that there would be the Oman flight available to them. But now the flight scheduled to go to Dublin after 2 p.m. today is full up. So the earliest they have an option for, and these Donegal people mad to get home, is Saturday. So what are you going to do? You know, it's a tough old time for people stuck out there. When will it end? Well, who's to say? The United States and the countries surrounding Iran are in a bit of a pickle, because Iran really, really quite cheaply can fire drones. Drones are 1 to 2 million. And some of the rockets they fire are a couple of million as well. And we don't know how many they have of them, but they seem to have plenty at this time. So they're able to fire hundreds and hundreds of rockets at a relatively low cost. The problem is in terms of defense, so, the UAE and all the other countries around, it costs them a fortune, something like 12, 13, 14 million per rocket to intercept one of these cheap drones. And they're up to the billions now at this point. So the point being, what I'm trying to say is Iran's war is very cheap. Defending against what Iran is doing is costing that part of the world an absolute fortune. And I was also digging into the United States' supply of weapons, and it is really actually relatively quite small. And there is some suggestion that they could really exhaust their main supplies in a week or two of bombing in Iran, which leaves the United States very vulnerable. They're making a tiny amount of new rockets per year, and they're dumping them on Iran willy-nilly, and they can't replenish their supplies, which could leave the United States really quite vulnerable. Or the Chinese or Russians could look on and go, well, if we decide to go into Taiwan, the Chinese for that matter, what can the US do about it? I think Donald Trump's painted himself into a terrible corner. That's not to mention the fact that, we have to also consider there's an awful lot of innocent people being blown to bits as well, regardless of what your views are on, not regardless, but, you might have views on the Iranian regime, and we can argue that back and forwards. There's no argument as to the death of thousands of people in a huge country, a population of 90 million. But it's going to play out quite interestingly, because if Iran can persist, if they can keep... Don't forget, Iran produces an awful lot of drones. They've been supplying Russia with drones to contest Ukraine. If they have an awful lot of them, watch on, because at the moment in the Middle East, they're able to defend. But as I said right at the beginning of this conversation, it's costing them by a factor of 5 to 6. It's cost to defend the skies. These drones, 1 or 2 million, the rockets intercept them, millions upon millions. I'll get the actual figures for you, because it's maybe something you hadn't thought of, but it all has to play out. And eventually, potentially eventually, Iran could have enough of these drones, have enough of these missiles to exhaust the defense systems of surrounding countries. And then what happens then? But anyway, the US-Israeli war on Iran spread to the Indian Ocean yesterday when a US submarine torpedoed an Iranian frigate off Sri Lanka, killing at least 87 people, and NATO air defences shot down an Iranian ballistic missile heading to Turkey. So we've talked a lot about the Middle East. There's people in Cyprus really quite worried as to what might happen there. The local people with family in Cyprus, and also Turkey is within range of Iran. Turkey, a NATO country. US officials said there would be no let-up in strikes, which they said had devastated Iran's ballistic missile program and its naval fleet. But has it? Right, let's switch tack, go to the Farmers Journal. And many of you out there in the farming industry looking at fertiliser prices, you know what happened when Russia invaded Ukraine. They went through the roof. Well, fertiliser sales have been put on pause this week In the wake of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, supply and price of urea-based products is the real concern among importers, some of which polled price lists and existing quotations on Wednesday. Dairygold has told its members that sales of fertiliser will be paused for up to 14 days due to supply getting tight on the ground and very little coming in. Now, here's an interesting story from the Irish Daily Mail. Property developers are paying for an event in the French Riviera city of Cannes that will be attended by the Department of Housing to court institutional investors. The department is refusing to disclose the details of the sponsorship deal for the event next week or the one that was also held in Cannes last year. However, internal documents show officials expect costs of €300,000 for next year's event to be covered by private market sponsors. So, is it time maybe the families in defective concrete blocks, is it time maybe that you got a little fun together and hosted an event out in Cannes for the Department of Housing? Maybe that might speed up the appeals for those of you who downgraded. Maybe it might speed up more flexibility into the scheme. Can you get together €300,000, €400,000, get a plane out to Cannes and wine and dine those from the Department of Housing? There's more Burkes going to prison. Enoch's mum and sister have been jailed for 2 weeks. The mother and sister of jailed teacher Enoch Burke have been jailed for 2 weeks each over their behaviour in the High Court. Mr Justice Brian Cregan said the conduct of Martina Burke and Amy Burke in shouting and repeatedly interrupting a court hearing last month was a paradigmatic case of contempt of court. He added, they both knew fully well what they have no right. They both know full well that they had no right of audience and no right to speak, yet they persisted in standing up in court and shouting and roaring at the top of their voices. They did so simultaneously and in a concerted manner. The judge was referring to a February 20th court sitting where proceedings had to be suspended and the two women were removed by Gardaí. Only 2 members of the Burke family were in the High Court for the judgment. Isaac Burke said his mother and sister were in work. Enoch Burke, who joined the hearing by video link from Castlereagh Prison, told the judge it was a fearful and nefarious judgment and told the judge there is a higher judge and he will account to God. So that's 3 Burkes in prison now. Amy, her mother, Anna, and also Enoch. And Isaac must have not been too disruptive yesterday, or he could have found himself in there as well. Right, okay, that was a run through some of the stories on the front of and inside the papers. If you want to get in touch with us, and we love your contact, here's how you do so.
The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio. Text WhatsApp 086 60 25000. Call 074 91 25000 or email comments at highlandradio.com.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans, borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today.
Fly Donegal to Glasgow with Logan Air. Convenient return flights every Friday and Sunday, including a 15 kg checked bag. Book your Glasgow getaway now at loganair.co.uk. Terms and conditions apply.
When it's time for confirmation or first communion, it's time for a trip to Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Choose from a great selection of top label, casual and formal wear. Suits with matching shirts and ties, blazers, jackets and shirts. Also denims, chinos and footwear from big names like Diesel, Giovanni and Tommy Bow. And one lucky customer will win their money back. Stand out on the big day at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
Innovation is defined in moments with the all-electric Lexus RZ. From the streamlined silhouette to an interior of calm, every detail comes together to create amazing. Available with state-of-the-art one-motion grip steering, delivering intuitive control with every drive. Experience the all-electric RZ at your Lexus retailer. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Your local dealer is Lexus Letterkenny.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is 22 minutes past 9, and I'm looking at two very relieved people in front of me. Patricia Callahan. Good morning, Patricia. I can't hear you, actually. I don't know if... hello? Yes, I have you now. And also beside you, Anna Callahan. Hi, Anna.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Now, you're just back, Anna, from Dubai. As much as you're comfortable in telling us, you know, where were you? Were you there last Saturday, and how the last number of days has unfolded for you?
Yeah, so I was on holiday and fly home on...
I just wonder if the microphone's sitting on the desk there. Sorry, it just might be cutting out automatically. Try again for me there, yep.
Sorry. I was on a holiday. I was in Dubai for a few days, and I was at the airport when the airspace closed. I was sitting at the gate with the flight to board, and the Emirates staff, they sort of slipped away. All of a sudden, the flight was cancelled, and they were like, "What's going on?" Nobody had heard the news about the attacks, so it took a little while to get that filter through. That's the airspace. So chaos ensued. To be honest, Greg, it was pretty crazy. I don't know, number of hours. It was probably 8 or 9 hours on Saturday.
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you what I might do. I'm going to reconnect with you, if that's okay. Just stay where you are. I'm going to try one more time to see if we can just get a slightly better connection there, because I want to hear, of course, exactly what Anna has to say. And if this doesn't work, we'll just regress to a regular telephone line. So bear with us in relation to that. And as I say, you know, it's good news that we have Anna home, but there are others that aren't so lucky, and they're still waiting. They're still waiting for confirmation as to whether or not they will actually get out. So we'll cover that in a moment. Right, I just want to see if that's any better now. Anna, how are you now?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it was just chopping in and out there. So you were saying you were at the airport last Saturday.
Yeah. So I was at the gate waiting to board when the flight was cancelled, and nobody knew why it was cancelled. And next thing, all the boards for every flight were showing cancellations. So it took a little while for the news to filter through that the airspace was closed. And basically, there was no information. And I guess it's unprecedented for airports, experiencing these situations. So it took quite a number of hours before any information started to come through. And the first thing was that we had to start queuing for hotel vouchers. And that was a case of, thousands, the whole airport queuing to get these hotel vouchers to be evacuated. And then you were spending the next few hours going back through passport control, through security, trying to get your bags. You're thousands of people, trying to queue up for things, and eventually go outside. And we were bussed then to different hotels. So you got on a bus and you didn't know where you were going. And basically, I had met a girl from Cavan at the gate, and we were both travelling individually. So we said we would stick together, and that's what we did for the last few days. And 3 other Irish people actually arrived at our hotel. So the 5 of us kind of spent the last 5 days together.
And you kind of found yourself near hotspots, didn't you? Initially close to the airport, which we know did come under attack. And then, or maybe it's from the same location, close to the US Embassy, which also was struck or somewhere close to it. So you were fully aware of what was going on, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. So when we got to the hotel initially to check in, everybody started getting these really loud alerts on your phone saying that missiles are overhead, take cover, like stay away from doors and windows. So that was the first indication that we were actually under attack, let's say, or the country was, that there was missiles overhead. So we heard then it was around the time that the airport was hit. So that was about an hour after we had left. And in fact, it was the same gates that we had been at, the B gates. So it was quite surreal then to see the videos of where we'd just been, had been hit. So that was the first, I suppose, indication. And then over the next few days, you were hearing overhead like constant bangs and interceptions, particularly Tuesday night. There was a number of missiles. It was literally as if it was like just above the hotel. And that was the night that the US consulate was hit, which made sense then because that's only 2 kilometres away from where we were staying.
How noisy is it when you're looking at, right? So we've seen the imagery, but you've seen it with your own eyes. And when you talk of bangs, is it like thunder or is it like fireworks or something in the distance? What's it like being under that?
I suppose there was kind of different noises. Like you would have very loud bangs that, to be honest, sounded like an explosion. Like I genuinely did sound like that. It wasn't like a soft thud. It would have been more significant. And then the missiles, to be honest, were more like planes, like really loud, like as if they were jet engines or something like that going overhead. And we knew that they weren't planes because there was no planes in the sky. You know, the airspace was closed. So the missiles sounded more like jet engines going across the sky, like rumble, like a really, really loud rumble.
All right, Patricia, what was it like? Good morning to you. Great to see you again. What was it like for you being here and watching on? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you had contact with Anna and she was able to reassure you, but mums are mums. So what was it like for you?
We had a very worrying weekend, Greg, I have to say. Really worried, especially watching all the news. We were watching the news constantly to see what was happening. We were able to be in touch with Anna at different times, and we knew that she was okay, but at the same time, we didn't know for how long she was going to be okay, or we didn't know when she was going to get home. So it was a very, very worrying, very stressful weekend for us, a very stressful few days. So, you know, we're so glad now that she's home. We couldn't wait. Yesterday we were waiting and waiting and waiting to get word that she'd actually got boarded on the flight. And then we were very nervous at the fact that she was going to be flying through the airspace. So as soon as I found out that the flight had taken off, I decided I'll have to get to Dublin now to meet her when she gets off. So,
and what was it like when you saw her coming through arrivals?
Oh, it was just I can't describe it. It was just wonderful to be able to put my arms around her and give her a big kiss.
Oh, lovely. Anna, your mum...
I have also said before, I have a daughter-in-law who's from Iran. She's actually living in the States with my son, but her family are all in Iran and we know them and we're very worried about them, praying for them every day. So just to keep them in mind as well. Anna's safe and sound, so we're very grateful for that.
Patricia, any news from them in Iran? I know there's contact blockouts and what have you, but is anything getting out as to how they are?
Well, the last I heard yesterday evening was that they were safe and were staying indoors. So they're a wee bit away from, they're living in Shiraz, they're a bit away from Tehran, but at the same time, things do spread. So we just hope that they'll stay safe.
Isn't it bizarre that you had people in both spaces that you were concerned for? Anna, just a question your mother referenced there about departing, right? Because there is images out there of planes taking off and landing, and you can actually see rockets flying in the background. Airports have been targeted in the past. Were you nervous on the ground and particularly during ascent, or were you just relieved to be on your way home?
Very nervous, I'll be honest. So I suppose yesterday was a stressful day. So when we got up in the morning, we were actually told by the hotel that we had to check out. So that it was only 3 days of cover for accommodation, and we needed to check out. So I was sitting with the other 4 people trying to figure out what our plan was. I got this text from the hotel to say an Emirates flight was leaving, and they contacted the hotel to tell me to go straight to the airport. So I packed up quick, and in the meantime, another of the party had got the same message. The 2 of us went to the airport, got through to the Dublin queue, and we had no booking at that stage. We had no confirmation, we had no ticket. So we were queuing with everybody else for that flight, and hoping by the time we got to the top of the desk, the queue, that we would get a seat. So that was the first relief, and that's great. But then the relief turns to nervousness, because you're sitting waiting to take off in an airspace that has been very unsafe up to that point. And honestly, the plane would have been very nervous, that you wouldn't have had a lot of people particularly excited. We took off, and I think most people had the map, the navigation map, the flight path on their screens on the plane. And I think everybody was doing the same as me, keeping an eye on where we were and just kind of getting to about a 45-minute point or an hour point in. Got right,
Okay.
The day.
Well, Anna, listen, I'm so pleased that you're home safe. The line just started to go again. That's not your fault. It just is what it is. And safe journey back to Donegal when it's the right time for you to do so. But for now, thank you very much. Thank you. Lovely to see and speak to you again, Patricia. And thank you so much, Anna, for joining us on the programme. Okay, that is Patricia Callahan and Anna Callahan, two very relieved parents, and a very relieved Anna there as well, no doubt.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, powering your plans with fast digital loans. Apply online or through our app in minutes and get funds straight into your current account. Easy, quick and convenient. And our digital offering perfectly complements the friendly face-to-face service you know and trust.
See our new range of comfortable storage beds now on display at Restex Beds Mountaintop Letterkenny. Combine luxury and comfort with clever hidden storage and free delivery and assembly on all our products. Restex Beds. Leave the rest to us.
It's here, the new Opel Frontera. Join Manor Motors for the Frontera test drive event and discover the wow, the new family fun SUV from Opel. With big comfort, huge space and room for 7. Choose hybrid or electric and make every drive a new adventure. Get behind the wheel at Manor Motors, your Opel dealer. Now with 5 years unlimited warranty. The new Opel Frontera. Fun has found its family.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
Discover full and part-time courses from Level 2 to Master's degree at the College of Agriculture, Food and Rural Enterprise, Caffrey, Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college, with campuses in Greenmount, Antrim, Lochary, Cookstown and Enniskillen. Study a course in food, agriculture, horticulture, equine, floristry, veterinary nursing, land-based engineering or business. Book now to attend an open day from Saturday 7th of March to Friday 13th of March. For event information, visit cafre.ac.uk.
It's Local Enterprise Week, and this Friday Around the Northwest is live from one of the highlights, the Made in Donegal Showcase at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny. We'll be talking to some of Donegal's finest artisan food and craft producers and finding out why the county has a growing reputation as a hub of great creativity, quality and innovation. So that's this Friday, the 6th, live from the Made in Donegal Showcase in association with the Local Enterprise Office, Donegal.
Now, yesterday, just in the interests of sort of balance and covering everything its entirety, we were speaking to the HSC about the €35 million plus spending plan for 2026 and the positivities surrounding that, and there are some in that, don't get me wrong. But unfortunately, it's just less than 24 hours later, we're reflecting on issues within the health service and certain decisions that seemingly don't make sense. I have a couple of guests to discuss this. Councillor Declan Meehan, who has condemned a decision to block the appointment of a consultant dermatologist at Letterkenny University Hospital. And this is going to leave patients facing journeys of up to 2.5 hours for treatment. Councillor Meehan, we've had a recommendation, haven't we, for a dedicated dermatology consultant for LUH, but now it's not going to happen. What's going on?
Yeah, so Greg, there was a review conducted into dermatology service provision across the Northwest. That review concluded, and the recommendation was that Letterkenny be given and resourced for one consultant post to do dermatology based in Letterkenny University Hospital. However, that was overruled by the National Clinical Lead in Dermatology, who cited reasons apparently that she felt that one standalone consultant providing the service would be inappropriate. Now, why is this an issue? It's an issue because the service that Donegal people have to travel to in Sligo is led by one standalone consultant. So, this sounds a lot like hypocrisy and discrimination against Donegal. Dermatology is a key specialty that people need access to. They need access to a consultant, and preferably locally. We know that dermatology affects about 25% of the population. 2 to 3% of the population have serious dermatological conditions, and there's about 3,000 people a year in Donegal who will need to see or have a review appointment with a dermatology consultant. That means that under the current situation with dermatology provision in the Northwest, people are having to travel up to 2.5 hours in each direction to access that appointment at Sligo University Hospital. Now, if this was allowed to go through by the National Clinical Lead, it would not only be a better outcome, obviously, for patients based in Donegal, but also it would shorten waiting lists for people across the Northwest who are all currently accessing the same service based in Sligo.
No, for sure. This has an impact on Sligo patients as well. It has to be said, Sligo Leitrim as well. So we often we are very good at hearing the reasons why. Very strong arguments, of course. A population well in excess now of 160,000. 1,800 patients in Donegal waiting for more than 6 months to see a dermatologist, and demand is there clearly. Have we been given a reason as to why that amount of people, that level of demand, doesn't justify a dermatologist being placed into Letterkenny University Hospital or Donegal?
Not that I'm aware of, and certainly that information hasn't been given to me. The information was simply that the National Clinical Lead on Dermatology ruled it inappropriate that a single consultant would be operating in Letterkenny University Hospital. And again, that's despite the fact that that is the case currently in Sligo. This is just another example of health inequality faced by the people of Donegal. I've written to the Minister for Health and asked her to review and intervene on this particular appointment. Not only was it recommended that a consultant post be filled in Letterkenny University Hospital, the funding was actually secured. So this comes from the National Clinical Lead. There's National Clinical Leads who are professionals working in each specialty area. They're all Dublin-based by and large. And look, it's very easy to make a decision sitting in Tala University Hospital in Dublin when you don't understand or have the knowledge about the rurality.
But I think also it's time that these decisions, it's time that people were accountable for these decisions and give us the reasons as to why, and then we can have a more fulsome understanding and debate on it. It's not your fault. It's just this system that we have. Yeah. Stay where you are, because I want to introduce Dr. Ciara Steele, a general practitioner who's with me as well to discuss this. Thank you for your time. What's your take on where we're at and this decision?
Yeah, well, I agree with your synopsis that there's been a lot of good news in Letterkenny recently, but this certainly counteracts that. And we're really disappointed in general practice for the patient perspective that they have a service deferred to Sligo. In fact, the developments in Letterkenny would sort of make it even more ridiculous that a dermatologist wouldn't support the minor surgery hub in Letterkenny, for example. The patients we've witnessed in our campaign last year, we asked for a review of the dermatology service, and really 2 posts are needed in Letterkenny. And funding was allocated for 1, and then there were barriers to that because of the logistics that Declan has mentioned. But from the patient perspective, having a service based 2.5 hours away is never going to be successful for them, for timely intervention, for cancers, for acne that causes scarring, for psoriasis, for light therapy that people need to go to on a regular basis. It's just not acceptable to have to travel. And I was listening to your piece on the radio about, this attitude that Donegal is always complaining. There again, yeah, there's disparity. The reason is the disparity. There's not equitable provision of healthcare because the service is always deferred to another county. I suppose that's the patient perspective, having to travel, needing timely intervention. From the GP perspective, there's a lot of well-trained GPs clinically, and that really is led by demand. In the British Journal of General Practice, for example, 8% of consultations, are based on dermatology, and of those consultations, 40% of the time is based up on dermatology alone. So there's a high clinical demand that was reflected in our campaign calling for that, and that was reflected in the clinical need identifying 2 consultants in Letterkenny. So also there's a training aspect to this. If we don't have a clinician as consultant dermatologist lead, you can't have specialist registrar trainees in Letterkenny. We can't have GPs on the rotation screen, on the GP rotation, training in dermatology in Letterkenny. And we know when there's an 8% presentation of consultations in primary care, we need GPs training in our local hospital to identify that in context. And again, then the fourth point I'd like to make is policy about Donegal is continuously being made in a centralised way, lacking context of the clinical picture and clinical need in the county for patients. We also, as GPs, create meet demand by running minor surgery clinics. So there's a lot of really well trained GPs in the county who are seeing a lot of small cancers, removing these lesions. So actually the impact of that is underestimating the clinical need within the hospital, because a lot of that is dealt with in primary care. So devolving the service to Sligo will impact the Sligo patients adversely, and obviously for those reasons that I've mentioned, adversely impact our patients here in Donegal.
Like, I have this image in my head of an individual or individuals taking about 30 seconds to make this decision, looking at a map and seeing maybe where population centres are, and looking at Donegal and thinking it's just a barren wasteland effectively, and that Sligo is the logical place to put these types of services. I hope it's not like that, but it feels like it very much might be, Ciara.
Well, I feel that the rationale of the clinical lead needing 2 consultants, okay, that's an aspirational service provision. That's probably as best practice, and I can understand that decision, but it's the adverse effects of that decision don't really balance that benefit, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Declan, and whatever way the decision was made, just to reiterate, it did go against a recommendation. I mean, that's there, it's in black and white.
Well, look at Greg, this is the frustration as well. And look at Ciara has articulated the need for this exceptionally well. But the frustrating thing is that if a review is to be conducted into dermatological service provision in the Northwest, and a recommendation is made that has ultimately been overruled or ignored, then what was the point in conducting the review in the first place? There's an awful lot of effort that goes into these reviews and to these assessments. And I suppose that kind of speaks to the point of, how these decisions are made. But when you have someone, as Ciara says, where these decisions are being made in a centralised way without any context on the ground, clinical or otherwise, that means
surely that review should bring context to the decision.
Absolutely, it should. And I guess, to go back to a point that you made, Greg, I think we need further transparency and more transparency around how these decisions are made, and to make these, in particular, national clinical leads for various specialties accountable around how they make decisions, around what their reasoning for those decisions are, because at the end of the day, it is patients that are losing out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Ciara, we talk about the 2.5 hour journey potentially for some, even longer for others. There's a subset of that, those that don't have the means to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I've had patients that just refuse to travel because they're too old, they have mobility issues, they just are too uncomfortable, and they just feel that they can't travel. And that's reasonable. Other people aren't asked to travel 2.5 hours, in other service provision areas on a regular basis. And it might be that they're traveling to Galway for urology. It might be that they're traveling to another appointment somewhere else down the country to access care. And it's a huge travel burden on patients. So like it's a huge point. But just to say about the reports, there's been 2 HIC reports. There's been an EY report. There's been a GP campaign-led review of dermatology services. And there's been the Model 3 hospital report. So like, why are these reports being ignored?
Yeah, exactly. And that is the critical question. And in the absence of transparency over the decision-making process, we are left guessing. As always, Dr. Steele, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. So you've made contact, Declan, with the Minister for Health. Maybe we have decent lines of communication. She does seem to be the type of person that can see if a decision is illogical, whatever influence she might be able to exercise in that regard. Of course, we've made contacts with our people as well. You would hope common sense would prevail. Again, here we are having to campaign and moan in inverted commas for equality, equity.
Yeah, look, Greg, I think that, you're talking about all the positive news around Letterkenny University Hospital and the investment that we're going to see there over the coming years. And that is correct, and that's very welcome. But we had to fight tooth and nail for that. It wasn't given to us on a platter. It had to be fought for years, involving multiple people, including clinicians, including public representatives, but also community campaigners who were patients with experience. So that hasn't arisen out of nowhere. That was fought for. And here we are again having to highlight an issue, another example of health inequality in Donegal, and we'll continue to do that as and when they arise, because there's a real injustice, as well as it being completely illogical. Again, I feel like it's a double standard when they're saying that Letterkenny University Hospital can't have a standalone consultant for dermatology, and yet that's exactly what the service is in Sligo.
Okay, no logic to it. Thank you very much indeed, Independent Councillor Declan Meehan, and we were also joined on that topic by excellent GP, Dr. Ciara Steele.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. New to borrowing or haven't borrowed in a while? Our welcome loan is here for you. Borrow up to €50,000 at just 5.95% APR with no hidden fees ever. Apply online or in branch today at letterkennycu.ie.
Join us this Thursday on Around the Northwest with Anne-Marie McDevitt from 11 to 1. We'll be coming live from Foy's in Letterkenny, launching something very exciting. Stay tuned.
If you're rushing around trying to get things done, why not step out of the hustle and bustle and into Charlie's in Letterkenny? Enjoy some chicken tenders, a delicious burger, an all-day breakfast, or maybe some of their famous homemade chips, all freshly cooked from a packed menu. Eat in or pick up something to go. Open Tuesday to Saturday from 12 right through to 8, and for breakfast every Friday from 9. Charlie's on the Pierce Road, Letterkenny. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's.
Looking for a car you can count on? Drive away in a brand new 261 Suzuki from Barry Brown Cars, Ireland's #1 Suzuki dealer. With 0% finance, a 10-year warranty and Suzuki's trusted reliability, you'll drive away with total confidence. Visit Barry Brown Cars in Milford or Donegal Town and enjoy 10 years of worry-free motoring.
Nutrius XL Yo with Lamb and Nutrius Yo with Lamb Crunch are both formulated to ensure a vigorous lamb and excellent milk yield. Avail of our lambing season offer. 25 kg bags, buy 10, get 1 free. And €15 off per tonne in bulk. Available at your local Homeland store. Or contact your farm commercial specialist. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
Award-winning care is at the heart of Blue Poppy Dentistry, Implants and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Dr. Lydia, recently named Ulster Regional winner of the Colgate Caring Dentist Awards, is now accepting patients for composite bonding, veneers, airflow cleans and children's dentistry. To book, call 074 91 20355 or book online at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dentistry, Implants and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Find the perfect outfit for any event this season with our extensive collection of occasion wear for women and suiting for men. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhinneys.com.
So, as you can see, cloudy this morning across the northwest with rain becoming widespread. The rain, though, will clear from the east this time in the evening. A cool day with afternoon highs of 3 to 8 degrees with moderate to fresh northwesterly winds. David Murphy is with me in studio. David, thank you so much for calling up.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are setting up Waves, and it's a support group for people impacted with moving disorders such as Parkinson's or a stroke, etc. Tell me a bit more about it.
Well, I've been diagnosed with Parkinson myself for 14 years now, and it's kind of a way of answer that I thought I'd set up a wee group for people to share their stories as well as myself, and reach out to people.
Now, you worked with your hands, didn't you? You
Yes.
were a skilled tradesperson, and you've been affected by a tremor and shake in your hand, and that eventually led to your diagnosis.
Yes.
So, traumatic time for you, David, I'm sure.
It's a big impact on people. Like, anybody's been stuck down with any illness, but with Parkinson's and people working with their hands and stuff, it's a bit more. But you just have to get on with it. It brings in mental health as well, into it as well. Like people diagnosed with an age form of illness. Mental health's a big issue on it too as well.
For sure. In Parkinson's and in the area of stroke as well, we know that. Now, there is a meeting taking place in the Everglades Hotel in Derry on Friday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. So what will happen what happens within this Waves community?
Well, there's just general people coming along. It's just a group of people hoping to come along and meet other people in the similar situations as you're in, and just general talk and have a cup of tea or whatever. It's just, as I said, it's reaching out to people to help them on this journey. When I was first diagnosed in 2014, I walked out that door of the consultants and I didn't know to turn right or left or run through the wall.
Amazing.
No help there at all. So
So and this is what all support groups are, and this is why they're amazing. And it'll be, this conversation will be very relevant to those who understand what you're talking about. Yeah. It's about shared experiences, what works, what avenues you can take, what might help, all of that type of stuff. And that only can come from people in the same situation coming together.
This was all about. It's out there that people has been diagnosed and don't know where to turn to, and where to go or anything else. This way we set up this group. There were 3 of us started off. I'll not mention the names, but they'll know who they are. And with the 3 of us just got going and started up. This last 2 weeks has just been hell for leather to getting it going and getting the venue sorted out. And now there's 6 people on board now. There was only 3.
Organising
and everything else. Now there's 6 people in the group, and probably they'll maybe know somebody else. But always somebody knows somebody that has some form of illness.
Yeah, now, obviously not everyone's going to be able to make it into Derry tomorrow afternoon. Just to remind listeners, it's in the Everglades Hotel at 3 p.m. This is also, there's a WhatsApp group as well, isn't there?
Yes.
Or is that to be established yet?
Well, yes, the 6 of us on this WhatsApp group. So, if anybody's feeling a wee bit low, go into the WhatsApp. There's always somebody will speak. Me and Les were on this morning to 3:30, because we couldn't sleep, and we realised one another was on social media, so we got talking.
And you have lows, and it means there's someone there to...
Yes, if you're in a low, waves called waves. It's like the ocean. If it's a rough day, you have big waves.
Yes.
If you have a rough day in your life and things is bad, then you have the low, nice calm. You calm down. Knock-on effect from it is just colossal. I was told when I was diagnosed, I have it, but your family has to live with it.
Yeah.
And people doesn't realise this. The family is a big say in your life too as well. They can try to keep you in the straight and narrow.
But sometimes it's good too, you need to speak outside the family and friends group as well.
That's the next thing I was going to say. You can talk to your family to a certain extent, but you can talk to a stranger more than you can talk to your family.
Okay. Waves also, as you mentioned, the sea metaphor there, but it also stands for welcome, advocacy, values, empowerment and support. And it could grow into something really quite significant. It's already there, but you know what I mean. Now, David, if people can get along, they're welcome to the Everglades Hotel in Derry tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. And we have a contact number for you here as well.
Yes.
And you can speak to Caroline or Shannon there. You're happy for us to give that number out as well?
Anybody wants to. I still know it's short notice, because it's just the way things.
That's the way we work better at short notice sometimes, don't we?
The way things has worked out, and hopefully people will come along and join in the future.
Yeah, and if not in person, and we encourage them to do so, maybe they want to hop onto that WhatsApp group or make connections other ways. Okay, and how are you feeling now? Are you sort of steady on medication, David?
Medication, I have a thing called the Beach Band.
Right.
That's like a...
It just looks like a watch, doesn't it?
It looks like a watch, but like they get set there now on. And if I switch it off, like you'll see yourself.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing.
So
it's presumably sending some sort of electrical signals?
It's electrical signals go through. Like I only wear it for a couple of hours in the morning, a couple of hours because I don't want to get dependent on it.
Right.
But like
that's astonishing.
It's life changing. Like,
isn't it just?
I know people that have got it and it's just stuck their life completely in a full circle.
Well, you see, there's one thing that people might not have been aware that even exists. You know, that's amazing how quickly that impacted you there.
It's instant how it works.
Brilliant.
Like, and I know several people.
Okay, I've never seen that. That's that, and for you to be able to demonstrate it as you did. Okay, listen, David. Best of luck with Waves, and I'm sure the numbers will grow. Hopefully, there's a good turnout tomorrow evening, and we have your contact details if anyone.
We're not
tomorrow
expecting a
afternoon.
big crowd tomorrow, but maybe next month.
Hey, big oaks grow from little acorns, isn't that what
Well,
they
we get the plants to seed before the tree can grow.
That's it. Okay, listen, thanks very much, David.
Thanks very much.
Look after yourself.
And you.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans, borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonagh. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
If you're starting a new business in 2026, let BizPrint help you with all your printing needs. Logo design, invoice books, business cards and promotional products. Call BizPrint in Letterkenny today on 9177955 or visit bizprint.ie.
This is Local Enterprise Week, and the theme this year is Built on Belief. It runs until this Friday, the 6th of March, with events taking place across Donegal to inspire if you're starting, growing or scaling a business. Local Enterprise Week is organised by Local Enterprise Office, Donegal, in association with Enterprise Partners. Events are free to attend, but booking is essential. Visit localenterprise.ie/Donegal or call 91 607 35.
Happy Mother's Day. Treat your mum this Mother's Day to a bottle of perfume or a cosmetics gift from McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. You'll find Lancôme, Paco Rabanne, Armani, Burberry, Gucci and many more. Great value for great mums this Mother's Day. See in store or order online at mcgees.ie. McGee's, with the best, costs less.
Painting season is here, and there's only one place to start. That's Foy's in Ballybuffet, Letterkenny, and now Enniskillen, the largest stockists of all the biggest paint brands in the Northwest. From exterior paint built for Irish weather to interior colours that transform your home, Foy's have it all. And this month, enjoy free paint colour consultations in each store. Get inspired, get expert advice, and get painting at Foy's, where great colours begin.
Live, on air, online, and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock.
Over 2,400 Irish citizens in the Middle East have requested charter flights home, the government says. The Minister for International Development and Diaspora, Neil Richmond, confirmed that 24,000 Irish citizens are registered as living in the Middle East, with 16,000 of them having registered since Saturday. Adults travelling on the charter from Oman tomorrow will be charged €800 each, while children can fly for free. Anna Callaghan from Donegal Town was due to fly back home from Dubai on Saturday when her flight and all others were cancelled. She told the Greg Hughes Show what that was like.
So I was at the gate waiting to board when the flight was cancelled, and nobody knew why it was cancelled. And next thing, all the boards for every flight were showing cancellations. So it took a little while for the news to filter through that the airspace was closed. So it took quite a number of hours before any information started to come through. The first thing was that we had to start queuing for hotel vouchers. And that was a case of, thousands, the whole airport queuing to get these hotel vouchers to be evacuated.
3 people arrested yesterday in the Ballymoney and Watersides area of Derry was part of an ongoing investigation concerning suspected fraud have been released on bail to allow for further police inquiries. With more, here's Tara Duggan.
The PSNI says the arrests were made by detectives from its Criminal Investigation Division and followed a report received in May 2024 linked to a local council body. A 39-year-old man was arrested in the Ballymoney area on suspicion of multiple fraud offences, bribery, misconduct in public office, money laundering offences and forgery. A 59-year-old man was arrested in the Waterside area of Derry on suspicion of fraud by false representation, bribery and money laundering offences. And a 39-year-old woman was detained in the Ballymoney area on suspicion of converting criminal property. The Irish News is reporting the arrests include a former senior official with Causeway Coast and Glensborough Council. All 3 have been released on police bail. The PSNI says its investigation is continuing.
Donegal County Council is being urged to use Bitmag for road resurfacing in the Leverage-Trinaurla Municipal District. The material is a modern road resurfacing material that replaces tar with a petroleum byproduct. Councillor Martin Scanlon says Bitmag is already used in other municipal districts in Donegal and across Ireland and should be used on all road projects, including the local improvement schemes, because it lasts longer and also improves road safety.
You're going to have a surface for over 10 years. It's going to be mainly maintenance free. And with the wet mix, you could be back after 2 or 3 years, which I've seen in some areas up here in Glenfin, potholing after the road work's been completed. So spend it wisely the first day and we'll make up for it in the long run.
Derry City and Strabane District Council says the appointment of integrated consultant teams to design regeneration plans for Strabane is a major step forward. Officials say the appointment of 5 ICT's facilities, the moves from visionary planning into active delivery. A portfolio of projects is planned to represent the £115 million investment in Strabane. Donald Kavanagh has more.
The Strabane Regeneration Project will see the reimagining of Strabane's historic canal basin area. It'll include a new state-of-the-art leisure centre to replace the ageing Riversdale Centre, the creation of a primary care health hub that will bring together and consolidate medical services within the town centre, a new high-tech college campus that'll anchor education and skills training, and a new pedestrian and cycle bridge linking the town centre with the public transport hub and making the area more accessible and eco-friendly. The investment is happening in tandem with the ongoing Strabane Town Centre Public Realm Scheme and the Cross-Border Riverine Project. The council says together these initiatives will transform Strabane's streetscape and wider area by improving lighting, footpaths and public spaces. Meanwhile, site preparations have just commenced at the car park on the site of the former Academy Boys School on the Derry Road.
Donegal County Council is being asked to provide an update on when safety signage will be erected on the road leading to the old forge outside Glengad. Councillor Ali Farron says there's a long straight road leading into Glengad from the Malin side, which ends with a very sharp bend that can be difficult to anticipate, particularly at night. There have been numerous incidents on the bend, and Councillor Farron believes signage of the warning of the sharp bend ahead would help alleviate the problem.
There's been numerous amount of accidents at what we would know as the forge Glengad. It's a 90-degree bend, and I've asked in the past for signage to be put on that corner to show it and to highlight it. As of yet, we still haven't got it in place. I just want to know when it will be delivered. We need it there, and we need it now.
Looking now to weather, wet and cloudy this morning. That will clear by the afternoon with highs of 3 to 8 degrees. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with headlines at 11 o'clock.
The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 5th of March. The death has occurred of Caitlin Louise Dlacken, Auckland, Donegal Town, reposing at her late residence, which is strictly private, please. Funeral Mass in St Agatha's Church, Clar, tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. The funeral mass can be viewed on mcn.live. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to Barrettstown Children's Charity, care of George Irwin Funeral Directors, or any family member. The death has taken place of Tommy McFadden, Clonbarra, Fulcara, reposing at his home today from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. and tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. with Rosary nightly at 9. House private, please, after the Rosary and on the morning of the funeral. Tommy's funeral mass will take place on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock in St Finian's Church, Fulcara, with interment afterwards in the adjacent cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on the church webcam and on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desire to Fulcara Cardiac First Responders, care of any family member or Kieran Rorty Funeral Director. The death has taken place in London of Therese Smith, Neo Kelly, formerly of Derry. Therese's remains will repose at her brother Declan's residence at 27 Drummond Park, Derry, from 2 o'clock until 9 o'clock today. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:20 for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Ardmore, followed by burial in Ardmore Cemetery. Therese's Requiem Mass can be viewed on ardmoreparish.com. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Alzheimer's Society, care of the immediate family or Mr Kieran Connor, McLaverty Funeral Directors. And the death has taken place of Paula Sweeney, Parkhead House, Chapel Road, Dunlow. Funeral Mass today at 12 noon in Synchronous Church, Dunlow, with burial afterwards in Mahery Cemetery. House private, please, before the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio. Forests are more important than ever. Quilcha manages its forests sustainably to help combat climate change, to supply wood for building homes, to protect habitats for nature, and to provide beautiful places for people to enjoy. That's why Quilcha is developing outstanding visitor destinations, like Beyond the Trees Avondale, and creating more recreational forests in communities all over Ireland. Quilcha, forests for climate, nature, wood and people, for a greener future for all.
Welcome back to the programme. A caller says, Greg asked Declan to apply for clinical leads decisions to be made available under Freedom of Information, a request of the HSC. Yes, indeed, of course. He and other councillors will be pursuing that, of course, as we will be also. So, yeah, thank you very much for that. Greg, will all politicians now cancel the trips to America? What about our peacekeepers in the Lebanon? It's clear Israel's going to flatten it like they did Gaza. It is a concern. We're told at the moment by government that our soldiers out there are safe, but how safe? We shall see. Reverend Richard Kerr is moderator designate of the Presbyterian Church, and he joins us now. Good morning to you, Reverend. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Greg, and it's good to be with you. Thank you for having me on your show this morning.
And it's great to have you on the show because as a person who grew up near Ramelton, you will become the Presbyterian Church in Ireland's next moderator. What does this mean to you personally?
Well, first of all, may I say it's a huge honour. I'm deeply humbled too that my colleagues have chosen me for this role this year. A moderator of the Presbyterian Church is the first among equals. It's not for a long period, it's only for 1 year. So it's not like an archbishop or a bishop, but it is a fairly key role in our church and in our structures. And so it is a huge honour. And I recognise too that I'm coming into the church at a challenging time. And I hope that I can help to lead well through this coming year. May I say just a little bit about my background in Donegal and just say how much that means to me? I'm a regular listener to Highland Radio whenever, especially when I'm up in Donegal, of course, and up to see my parents and family there. But anywhere I travel in the world, and I have lived overseas for a number of years, I always tell people I'm from Donegal. It's part of who I am, and I'm very grateful for that. Also very grateful for the seeds and indeed the first steps of faith that I took growing up in a Christian home with my parents, and committing my life to follow Christ as a young lad. And really in many ways, this place that I've come to now is, if you like, the next step on that journey of service that took me overseas to Malawi and Central Africa for a number of years with my wife and family. Took me into ministry in the Presbyterian Church, as I am now in Temple Patrick. And this new step, a daunting step in many ways, something I don't feel prepared for or fully adequate for, but I'm looking forward to stepping into that. Yeah. And again, just coming back to the Donegal connection, I met somebody I was at school with just the other day in Belfast, and they came up to me and took my hand and said they were praying for me. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful for that, and grateful for the prayers of people right across the community as I step into this demanding role this coming year.
Yes, you worshipped in the Reformed Presbyterian Church in Milford, and even as a young person, as a teenager, and perhaps maybe not exactly what your peers were doing, you were a member of the Derry Donegal Christian Fellowship. What drew you to that as a teen, and what did you get from that?
Well, I guess I was very fortunate in growing up in a home. My parents were very deeply committed Christians. That was part of who they were. The church was very much part of our lives. But when I was about 12, I came to that point when I started to ask the questions, is this a hand-me-down faith? Is this a faith that my parents have? What does this mean for me? Who am I? And I wrestled with that for a time, and I was a relatively young person. But I came to that point when I made an act of surrender, giving my life to Christ and asking him to come into my life, to take control, to be my savior, but also to be, if you like, my Lord, the one that I followed, the one to whom I gave my allegiance throughout my life. And I have to say that you've mentioned two of the churches that I've been involved in, and both of those were incredibly formative in my years. The Reformed Presbyterian Church, huge emphasis on Scripture, on the Bible, on learning that and understanding that and applying that. And that gave me a wonderful foundation as a child. I remember at primary school being in demand on quiz teams whenever we were looking at Bible knowledge, because my knowledge through my parents' teaching and my church connection was so good. And then the Derry Donegal Fellowship, something very different, but also at a key time, a formative time in my life as a teenager. It was the teaching, the sharing, the fellowship, learning how to be a disciple of Jesus, how to follow Jesus in practical ways, how to live that out, because I believe very strongly that faith must be lived. It's not just a head knowledge. And the friendships that I made through that, incredibly valuable, and I can't speak highly enough of that and how much I appreciate that.
I mean, obviously, they're all very devout members of your church, of many churches. But part of the challenge, isn't it, going forward is, or maybe it's not, and maybe I'm not phrasing it correctly, is how do you make faith, how do you make church relevant or feel relevant or seem relevant to the next crop of young people who, as well as that too, though you found your own place in your faith, may not have had the influence that you had. So how do you make it relevant to the next generation of potential practicers, churchgoers?
Greg, that's an excellent question, and I think that is very key to who I am and who we must be as church and churches as we reach out to the next generation. Someone said that God has no grandchildren, just children, so every generation needs to encounter God for themselves. I believe that more than ever in a world where there's so much chaos and war, where people are just seeking meaning, direction, purpose in life, that the gospel, the good news that God loves you and I and each person to the extent that he sent his son into the world, that is still very relevant, absolutely key in our day and age. And it is fascinating to note that right across these islands, that people are, particularly young people, are coming back to churches. People are seeking that sort of meaning and purpose in life.
Do you know what I think they're also seeking? If you don't mind me, if you don't mind me interjecting, I think what people are seeking and young people are seeking now is guidance, rules, rights and wrongs. You know, like growing up as a teenager now, it's not easy, but I think it's harder than it was me growing up, because I knew. Well, there was discipline, right? And I'm not talking about corporal punishment, but there was discipline, there was rules, there were freedoms, but those freedoms were earned. And now, you know, I think as a society, not just individually as parents, because parents have it tough as well, every path is really about, you know, no guardrails for teenagers, if you know what I mean. And I think we all need them. And I think particularly in our formative years, I don't think they're necessarily a bad thing. We can debate the rights and wrongs of what they are, but I think we've actually moved past that now to the point whereby we're almost releasing 11, 12-year-olds into the world, you know, and maybe there are structures of school and what have you, but outside of that, it's like, well, whatever you want. We prefer things not to happen than have to say no. We prefer there to be no teenage discos than to say you can't go to the teenage disco. We prefer to see a ban on mobile phones rather than to say you can't have a mobile phone yet. We want to see vapes banned because we aren't confident if we say you're not allowed to vape that they won't vape. And that's, I think we, generally speaking, inside, outside religion, we're not doing our young people a favour by struggling, I think, to guide them and discipline them and say, this is right, this is wrong, this is what that is, this is what this is.
Greg, I'm largely going to agree with you on that. I do think that structures are key. For me, I think it comes back primarily to the home. Yes, and I know that you're right, not everybody has had the privilege that I had, and maybe in my generation, where there were very clear structures in the home, and I'm grateful to my parents and for their support through the years and their continued prayers, because I know that even within a good home structure, sometimes things go wrong as well and are not what they might be, and people rebel against that. And I think home can be too legalistic, because I think every one of us have to learn and experience and work through things ourselves. And I would say, even though I gave my life to Christ as a young person, I did things through my teens. I experimented with things. I tried things that, in hindsight, I regret, but that was part of growing up and part of learning. But I think the key thing for me is that home is a place of love and support, and that church is somewhere where we are provided with guidance and direction, and we come back to the centrality of Scripture, to the Bible, and there is a moral authority. It is just not a case that anything goes, but that there is a clear moral absolute in Scripture of what God wants for us that we seek to follow and live by. Mm-hmm. And I'm discovering that more and more people want to find out what that is and are seeking that kind of clarity in life.
One of your priorities will be, I'm sure, around concerns in terms of church failings in safeguardings. I think all churches have had issues with this. There's no doubt. I think some churches are at different stages of rebuilding trust. I think that would be a fair enough analysis of it. There's a lot of work, you could argue, in your church to be done yet in rebuilding broken trust. And that's actually with people who maybe have left the church because of frustrations or concerned with leadership, and then those that might choose not to enter the church because of these trust issues. So how do you, in your term, address that?
Greg, several things I would want to say briefly. First of all, what has happened in our denomination and in our central safeguarding systems, the failures there are totally unacceptable, and I want to apologise very, very clearly for that. While I was not personally involved, we as a church have failed. We have let people down, and I want to make very, very clear my apology to anyone who's been hurt or harmed by our failings as a denomination. There's no ifs or buts or maybes about that. That needs to be very clear. The next thing I'd say is that in my year in office, and I can speak for us as a church at this time, as a denomination, we are determined to address these things. We're already putting measures in place. We're setting up a state-of-the-art safeguarding department, a separate department that will be well-staffed, well-resourced, that will make sure that this does not happen again. And that is absolutely important. On a personal level, I have indicated already that I plan and I'm available to meet with victims of our failings through this year. And I hope that I can do that and I can reach out a hand to them and support them. The other thing I'd like to say finally, maybe on this, Greg, is that while these failings are central and they're unacceptable, and I'm really sorry about that, I want to say that at local level, in local churches and local congregations right across this island, the standard of safeguarding has been very, very high. And I know that in my own congregation. I know that from many others that where I've been talking to people. And I want to stress that. I want to say that our churches are a safe place for young people and adults to risk.
Yeah. And it's with those churches that trust has to be rebuilt as well, because they themselves would feel let down. We look forward to perhaps speaking to you again in the future. Congratulations on your appointment, and it's great to see someone with such strong Donegal connections doing so well. We're always proud in that regard. The Reverend Richard Kerr, Moderate Designate of the Presbyterian Church, thank you so much for your time and best wishes.
Greg, thank you so much.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 5th of March, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €14,200 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 10. The jackpot number is 77. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 66, 25, 46, 34, 43, 84, 58, 17, 33, and finally 61. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com. Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Floor at Letterkenny has to offer? Floor at have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Floor at today on 087 161 7008.
Increased concern over fertiliser supplies. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's our editor, Adam Woods.
We reveal how the conflict in the Middle East is impacting fertiliser and diesel prices. Boost for cattle trade as Northern Ireland set to reopen. Rewetting of farmland to cost millions. New loan options for Western farmers. Arrivo suppliers uneasy over Dale Farm deal. 7-page special on sucklers, plus key advice on the Fair Deal scheme.
For all this and more, pick up the Irish Farmers Journal today or subscribe online.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, powering your plans with fast digital loans. Apply online or through our app in minutes and get funds straight into your current account. Easy, quick and convenient. And our digital offering perfectly complements the friendly face-to-face service you know and trust.
Moya joins me on the programme now. Hi, Moya.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks for joining us. You're in bad pain, aren't you?
I am in bad pain, yeah, with both knees now. It was just one knee at start, but my good knee has given. And I normally used to get injections into it. And once I got the injections, I was really flying. but it has put me on hold with all I do. As my walking, I love walking now, but it seems when I start walking, the knee is giving up, which is my good knee now that I was depending on.
And does it sort of feel weak? Does it lock up on you, or is it just too painful, Moya?
It's just the pain goes right down like a stabbing pain down the side of my knee. So it's definitely my knee need doing. But the steroid injection used to be very good when I got them, or injections. So I got a few from my GP, which worked great. I was able to walk. I was able to do all my daily routine. Now I end up in the evening, I do maybe a 5-10 minute walk and I have to turn back. And then if I don't have the stick, I'm really done. Which I never had to use.
Why have you not had these sort of, life-changing injections since September? Because that's when the last injection was, and you were getting very positive results with them. Why did they stop as far as you can determine?
Well, I did attend a doctor there lately, and I had told him I was suffering with both knees now, and I just told him, urgently I really need something done to tie me over. I know I have to get an operation on my knee, but to tie me over now, I says, I need really something urgent. And he says, I'll take you in for injections. And I thought, well, the way he was on, that it was like when I was in an urgency, that I would have to get the injections, straight away. So I waited maybe 2-3 weeks. I rang up, and they told me that some of them services had been cancelled. And they told me, the waiting list is there, but your name, there's no date. We can't give you a specific date. We don't know. I says, okay, I'll just ring, the doctor's secretary. And she says, I'm really sorry. I took your file out. I put it on as urgent. But in the due course, the doctor hasn't been in day services doing these injections.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a limbo. I don't know where I am. I'm just hobbling along. And it's just my life is put on hold at the moment, my quality life.
Of
which
course.
I used to enjoy my walk.
And if you can't get your steps in either, it's going to affect your general health. And of course, if you're stuck in the house, it's going to affect your head health.
Because at night time now, if I sit and if I have to do this 10-minute walk to relieve my muscles, I use the bicycle, but it's just sitting on a bike. I love when the weather's quite good to get out and do the walk. But then when I'm walking maybe half mile, I'm just knackered.
Yeah.
So I have to stand a few times, but the injections used to help me. I could nearly walk around that place, for maybe less than 10 minutes.
And can I ask how long did the relief last per steroid injection? How long did
it would last me up to 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
6 months now, my knees were brilliant.
And that was from one injection?
6 months. That was just onto the bone on the left knee, yeah.
Is there an option for both knees? Is there an option for you to get this done privately?
Well, the last thing I was told yesterday, and I think I'll need to go and do it, is just go to somewhere in Letterkenny that does private injections and just get it done, because other than that, I can't wait.
No.
It's pointless even having medical cards now, because it's just like there's such a tailback, and there's so many services being cancelled. And I understand there's so many on the waiting list and all that in front of me, suppose, but it's just like a throbbing toothache day in, day out. I can't even go on long distances because I feel I'm just knackered when the evening comes, because I can hardly walk.
And of course, there's a cost associated with going private. I mean, lots of people are struggling. I'm not going to ask about your private life, Moya, but I hope you have the resources to get this relief if that's the road you go down.
Well, I have no option other than to go and do it, because there's no such thing as help out there anymore. You're just on your own, and you just have to do it.
So just to be clear, Moya, you're on a public waiting list for a steroid injection, but it's going to be at least April. You're not on the list for March, and even...
I'm not for the March list. I was told yesterday there's about 60 people waiting. And I says, is there any chance I could even get it in the next 2 weeks,
Yeah.
And because I'm thinking March, you're going into St. Patrick's weekend, you're going into Easter, and I know everything's going to be kind of a shut down, it's not going to be as busy. And she says to me, no, definitely you're not on for the March, Moya. I'm sorry having to tell you that, but you're definitely not on for the March. And suppose the April list then comes, so I'm down as urgent, but I've been there on February. And February last year I got one injection, but sure I got another one in September. It worked brilliant, but sure they don't seem to be giving them out now. I don't know, they keep telling you that the injections are not good for the bones, but they were very good to me anyway, because I got back walking.
But you also have
than
to.
The way I am now.
They have to look at maybe there is a negativity to it, but there has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be counterbalanced. What is the positives versus the negatives, especially if you're probably eventually going to have to get new knees. Moya, leave it with us and we'll throw it out to the listeners and see if anyone has any advice or recommendations or what have you, Moya. And of course, if you're not listening, I'm sure you will be, but we'll get back to you. And I do hope that it's so frustrating when the relief is there and so prolonged, actually, to get relief for 6 months with one injection. I just hope Moya gets sorted. We'll do what we can. By the way, we are live on Around the Northwest. We are... Who wrote this? Okay. Around the Northwest is live from Foy & Company in Letterkenny for something very exciting. Okay, so tune into John Breslin's show, but it's actually, Anne-Marie McDevitt that's presenting today. So tune into Around the Northwest with Anne-Marie McDevitt, live from Foy & Company in Letterkenny with something very exciting for you. Around 11:15, there'll be an announcement from our CEO, Sean Quinn, and Mary T in Foy & Company. So what could it be? Maybe I'm going down to an hour. I'm only joking. So that is 11:15. It's going to be very exciting. You might be able to guess. I'm guessing here, and I know we've done some exciting work with Foy & Company in the past, right? So stay tuned for that. It's Around the Northwest with Anne-Marie, live from Foy & Company. So if you're in and around, call in. But what's particularly exciting is our CEO, Sean Quinn, and Mary T and Foy & Company have a very special announcement for you at 11:15. So please stay tuned for that.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. New to borrowing or haven't borrowed in a while? Our welcome loan is here for you. Borrow up to €50,000 at just 5.95% APR with no hidden fees ever. Apply online or in branch today at letterkennycu.ie.
Join us this Thursday on Around the Northwest with Anne-Marie McDevitt from 11 to 1. We'll be coming live from Foy's in Letterkenny, launching something very exciting. Stay tuned.
How we use electricity is changing, and when we use it matters. Between 5 and 7 p.m, demand is at its highest, but small changes can help support the electricity network. Things like running the washing machine outside those peak hours helps, or charging your EV at night, or when it's windy or sunny, makes the most of renewable energy. Making small, simple changes to how you use electricity is simply a matter of time. Learn more at esbnetworks.ie/flexibility. ESB Networks, energizing your everything.
Fermanagh, where giant adventures flow. A land of lakes and forests where welcomes are always warm. Cruise the islands on a Lough Erne water taxi. Climb above the clouds at Culca Lakeland's UNESCO Global Geopark. Taste local flavour in Enniskillen at the Firehouse. Then settle in at the Killyhevlin Lakeside Hotel, all nestled within Ireland's hidden heartlands. Book your Fermanagh short break now at discovernorthernireland.com.
This Mother's Day and St. Patrick's Day, your local Maple has everything you need. From beautiful Mother's Day gifts, cards, fresh flowers, chocolates and vouchers to festive St. Patrick's Day shamrocks, it's all under one roof. And don't miss our Maple special offers. Nicky Lemon Twin Pack, just $1.50. Andrex Family Soft Toilet Roll 24 pack, only $9.50. Cadbury Snack Shortcake 5 pack, just $1.25. Make these days extra special and dash to your local Maple today. Gifts, treats and unbeatable deals, all in one place.
We are down to our final 10 rooms for our trip to Trim. Once these last places are gone, that's it, we're sold out. So if you've been thinking about it, now's the time to act. Join us in the beautiful Knightsbrook Hotel Trim, County Meath from Sunday the 4th to Tuesday the 6th of October 2026. Book your place today at highlandradio.com or give us a call on 074 91 25000.
Now, I received a contact from a listener. A really concerned tenant, they described themselves as, and it reads as follows. Hi, Greg. I'm a tenant in the defective council houses here in Buncrana. I've received a rent review form requesting all dependents' names and incomes in my household. If not returned, they've stated that rent will automatically be put up by €20. Can they actually do this? I've a window that cannot open as blocks have moved. There's cracks inside, and now black mould is appearing in my daughter's room. I've requested that someone come out and review my house in person before putting up my rent. I've windows that cannot open, cracks outside and inside, and now the mould starting, as I mentioned, in my daughter's room. The amount spent on fuel to keep the house warm is ridiculous. It's got even more ridiculous since I received this email. They go on to say, our tenants filling out these forms, as I haven't, I've also had block testing done in the summer of 2022, and seemingly I'm not allowed the results as I'm only the tenant and they are the owner/landlord. They've said that they won't publicly give them to me. I feel my hands are tied. And we got in some photos which clearly demonstrate that this house is very much affected by defective concrete blocks. Councillor Ali Farron of the 100% Redress Party joins me on the programme now. And that's one person who's contacted me directly, Alan, one of many. And I'm sure it's the same with other people such as elected representatives. How can the council justify increasing rent for people who are in demonstrably defective homes?
Hard to know, to be honest. It's not something that we as a party have encouraged. We've been speaking up on behalf of social homes or people in social homes for a long while now. But it is what it is at the moment. Unfortunately, there's two sides to every story, unfortunately. And the first one is the council houses, council stock. There is no scheme in place at the moment for them. And in truth, at the end of the day, they're government property. It belongs to the government. They've given a scheme for private houses, but they have yet to give a scheme for social homes now. So the other problem then that
just
the
in
council
relation to that, Ali, if you don't mind, that's outside of the control of the council. That's a Department of Housing issue. What is within the control of the council is charging people more for being in crappy homes that are costing a fortune to heat and are cracked to their ears.
Yes. And, whereas you want to blame me for putting up the rent for €20, it never came in front of us as newly elected councillors. I'm told the last, that it was, a wee bit of research I've done, this was passed prior to us joining the council.
Yeah, I didn't say the council, I didn't say councillors.
We've raised this issue on several occasions, that you can't expect people that are your tenants, like they are the tenants of the county council, living in houses that are not fit for purpose, for want of a better word. Like, we've all been in these houses. They're not getting any better. The mould, the windows, it's the same as every house. The windows are not able to open. So yes, while I agree with you, Greg, and the council in some ways are spending a lot of money to kind of semi-remediate the estate in Moville. They've spent a lot of money trying to seal up them cracks. It's still not going to be a job.
I know it's not your fault, by the way, and I never said it was. But if I was renting out a house and the bedrooms were growing black mold within them, the ability to open windows, which is a very severe fire hazard, it must be said, and I think the local authority would need to be very careful because they could find themselves in big bother if someone was unable to exit their property. And the house was letting in drafts. Say, again, if I was a private landlord, I wouldn't have the balls, if I could put it so crudely, to go to a tenant and say, oh, by the way, I'm pushing up your rent, or threaten you with that. This is the local authority that is doing that. I know your party colleague Thomas Sean Devine has a motion down which addresses this directly. Can this MAD support my motion that the recent rent review being sent out to those living in social housing be put on hold until these homes are completely remediated? Do you think that will be... I mean, if it's passed by councillors, what might the executive do?
Probably the executives are hiding to nothing in some ways. They don't have the money to remediate these houses, and they are spending council money at the moment, trying to tidy them up, but there's no guarantee that they're getting the money back from the exchequer. So while it is our council and we're responsible for trying our best to kind of manage that, the ultimate thing is that the scheme hasn't been delivered for Donegal. At the moment there's 80 or 90 houses lying empty in Donegal that are defective concrete block houses, lying empty, and they're council stock.
Yeah, just go back though. I just want to go back to the listeners because my sympathy for the council doesn't extend as far as yours does, because this is a person who's facing a penalty of €20. A penalty of €20. They're in a defective concrete block house that the council own, that is letting in cold air, that they can't open the windows, and it's a fine, effectively, a penalty, a default penalty of €20 if they don't engage in a rent review with the council. That doesn't feel like that's got anything to do with foot dragging by the Department of Housing. That feels like people who are already in a very difficult situation finding themselves being further put in a more difficult situation by the local authority who just happens to be their landlord.
Well, the point that I'm getting at is that the council is in a very difficult position, Greg.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
You have a nice smile there on your face.
Because I'll tell you sitting there defending the council in this space was not on my bingo card for March, I'll be honest with you. But listen, you are probably right. You're in the council. If they're in a difficult situation, they're in a difficult situation, Ali. But continue, finally, just make that point one more time for us.
Well, like everything has moved on. The cost of and I'm no different to that lady there with the extra heating oil and the extra. And unfortunately, I don't want to ring my oil man today because in the community centre I have to buy extra oil. Everything has gone up. We get that. But the council have a lot more houses than defective homeowners, and they probably have to get in more rent. Rents nationwide have gone up. As I say, it's not something that came in front of my table since I became elected. So this was a decision made in 2023, I believe, to have a rent review, and this is the rent review happening. And I get it that, if you're in a house that's not fit for it. But the problem is the council do not have any extra houses at the moment, but they can move them out.
Can I ask, will you be supporting Councillor Thomas Sean's Devine motion?
I'll not be asked because it's been asked in the letter. I presume
it'll be. I understand how it works. I presume it will be brought to a full council meeting. Will you be supporting his motion then?
Of course I will.
Okay.
But the problem, I'm wearing two hats, and it's not something you can do very, very easily. From a council point of view, we need to get these houses restored. Yes. But from a council point of view, listening to the council staff who are trying their best to get a scheme. Remember, the scheme has to come from Dublin, and we still don't have one.
Yes, so, but in the interim, right? There is rent reviews out there, but there is a very strong argument because there are, for example, if you've local property tax breaks for people in council houses. I would have thought there's a very strong argument, and only one real argument, that if you are affected by a house that has defective concrete and the council owns it, that your rent would be frozen until such time as the housing agency comes up with a scheme to remediate these houses. If you're not in a concrete block house, then of course you're going to be subjected to the annual rent review anyway, which effectively is by the way, if you get an extra £5 from the state, the rent review takes that £5 off you. That's what it's about, really, effectively. But people in these houses specifically, if they were to have a rent freeze, the same way people in private houses get a break from the LPT, that would be something in a difficult situation. And I don't see two sides to that, but hey, you're a better man than me.
We've asked for that. We've asked for that in a prior motion, and we bring it up at defective block. But remember, we don't all sing off the same hymn sheet in that county council. So, and the people who have the most power in that county council are the ones that have the voice in the ears of government officials, and they're not delivering.
Okay, Ali Farron, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. Look after yourself. That's Councillor Ali Farron there, 100% Redress Party.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans, borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Donegal Town should attend the clinic in the Abbey Hotel in Donegal Town Thursday 5th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800 731 137 or visit our website to book your time. New donors are vital. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
There are Mother's Day offers waiting this week at Dunnes Stores. Raise a glass to Mum with selected rosé and sparkling wine, now 20% off. Pamper her with selected Cadbury Milk Tray, Dairy Box and Black Magic range, now half price. Or with our range of perfect bouquets, available in store from March 11th. Plus, save more with your 10 off 50 voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop. Excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Nutrius XL Yo with Lamb and Nutrius Yo with Lamb Crunch are both formulated to ensure a vigorous lamb and excellent milk yield. Avail of our lambing season offer. 25 kg bags, buy 10, get 1 free. And €15 off per tonne in bulk. Available at your local Homeland store. Or contact your farm commercial specialist. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Find the perfect outfit for any event this season with our extensive collection of occasion wear for women and suiting for men. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhinneys.com.
So that rain widespread this morning, but it will clear from the east as we head towards evening. A cool day. Afternoon temperatures just 3 to 8 degrees with moderate to fresh northwesterly winds. But I want to give you some good news weather-wise, if it's something that might lift your spirits. Dry and sunny tomorrow, but it'll be cold in the mornings, so mind your journey to work. 8 to 10 in the afternoon, nice and sunny though. Saturday mostly dry with sunny spells, though we will see some cloud coming into the area and some cloud and rain on Sunday. But Friday, Saturday, not the worst days in the world. Rightio, let's see what is next.
Business Matters is brought to you by Print Supplies. Based in Frosses, Print Supplies has 21 years experience delivering managed print solutions that save you time and money. With remote monitoring and local hands-on support, they take the hassle out of printers and photocopiers. Email sales@printsupplies.ie to find out more.
Good ad, good voice that. I wonder, is that an in-house voice? Sounds good, doesn't he? Got a good voice, yeah, I like it. Very clear, to the point. Print Supplies, boom! Chris Ashmore, presenter of Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast. Let's start with some news. Tata Consultancy.
Yes, now many people aware of Tata Consultancy, massive firm globally. They employ over 1,000 people here, or around 1,000 people here in Donegal, with what they have, it's called a Global Delivery Centre based here in Letterkenny. They've won this distinction of being named as a top employer in Ireland. Now, this is pretty prestigious because it's the Top Employers Institute, which is a global authority which recognises workplace excellence. So you have to tick a lot of boxes to get this accolade, and that includes diversity and inclusion, talent acquisition, the work environment, well-being and learning. So bottom line, it's a good place to work.
I know we have an interest in wind output. It is energy creation. There are issues with that in terms of storing it when we need it and getting it into the grid, but still an interesting stat, Chris.
Yes, now it's been revealed that last month, February the 14th, in fact, was the day that there was a new all-time record for wind output in Ireland. And what was being produced was equivalent to 72% of electricity demand at the time. So that's a pretty high figure. And also just in February, worth noting that we still imported 11.5% of our electricity. So
we're going to be more reliant on that.
Yeah.
We've yet to get the Spanish power coming in here, and we can call that green energy, can't we? Because it's all solar generated. Potentially good news, potential for more student accommodation coming online in Letterkenny. Big demand.
Yes, within the last few days, planning permission granted to a company called Omega Fusion Limited. Now, it is subject to conditions. That's not unusual. For new student accommodation, it's just off the Remelton Road in Letterkenny, sort of in behind the Pulse nightclub, which many people will know. There's a 4-storey block which will have 30 bedrooms. Then there's a couple of 3-storey blocks with 6 apartments in some of them and 3 in others. So that has been given the thumbs up from the council.
Business Enterprise Week's ongoing. We were chatting about this on Monday, and John Breslin has a show tomorrow morning from 11 o'clock in the Mount Errigal on site.
Yes, a great show. You'll have the leading artisan food and craft producers there, and it's a chance for people to go along, see what is being made in the county, and also to sample some of the great produce as well. Well worth getting along to that. As you mentioned, it'll be broadcast live with John. It all starts just after 11 o'clock, goes on to about 4 o'clock. So if you're in the area, well worth going into. And of course, the various other events continue throughout the week.
School meals, the school meals scheme. Some people are making some tidy cash.
Yeah, well, this is there's big money in the whole school meals scheme. I haven't got the calculator out, but I just noticed there's a tender out at the moment, Sculmora Gun Small in Letterkenny, and basically, they are going to provide a school meal, a hot meal, for 147 students on each day of the school year, and that contract is worth €250,000. So, you know,
Tasty.
it's tasty, all right. Yeah.
Tasty profits at Chadwick's too.
Now, Chadwick's, they have a store here in Letterkenny, stores throughout the northwest.
Screwfix part of that group?
No,
They're
I don't think
separate,
Scrooge.
right, okay.
No. Now, Chadwick's are part of a group. It's the Grafton group. Woody's would be probably the highest profile, although they're not in Donegal. But this group, they have recently acquired a firm in Spain as well. So it is a global group. The Grafton group, as I say, includes Chadwick's and Letterkenny. Their pre-tax profits for the last year were 180 million sterling. That is,
yeah, and I
actually,
think the Irish profits, increase in Irish profits, offset a bit of a stagnant performance in Britain.
Yes.
And I'll move on now to the podcast, if that's all right, because who do you have on it?
Yeah, now I've been speaking to a finance expert, Dan Malone, about where to get the best return on your savings, just your typical current account, your deposit account, and don't be afraid to look at European banks. He's also been speaking about a new savings comparison website. So there are a lot of options out there for a better return.
You can find accounts in France, in Germany, in Spain, all across the EU, and a wide range of either fixed-term deposit accounts where you lock away your deposit for an agreed period of time in exchange for a guaranteed rate over that time, or an instant access account where you put your money in, you can withdraw whenever you like, and you get a much more competitive interest rate. Now, in terms of how competitive that rate is, we're looking at around 15 times the average Irish rate, so they are very, very strong. And as you say, it's all backed by the European Deposit Guarantee Scheme. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions about, these digital non-Irish alternatives is that they're not as safe as the Irish banks. That's just not the case at all. European banking legislation requires that if you are operating as a bank in the EU, you have to adhere to the same safety regulations and you are covered by the same deposit guarantees. So that is €100,000 per bank per depositor, fully guaranteed by the state that regulates the bank. So
yeah, and we've an awful lot of money as a nation, albeit perhaps a small percentage of us, in the bank, but just sitting in low interest current accounts or no interest current accounts.
This is exactly the point that he's been making. In excess of 140 billion in these accounts. Now, a lot of them, the average interest rate on these accounts is 0.13%, so it's diddly squat. Now, some of the
your bank charges will shoot.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the now it's not a huge amount, but some of the European banks you can get up to about 2.7, 2.8%.
But it's the exit on that, you see. That's the problem as well. It's the exit, the dirt. I just was looking at something else. The government scheme, I think it's 120 grand cap, whereby you're not taxed on that if someone's lucky enough to have that kind of...
Well, we may recall the old Charlie McCreevy in the SSIA scheme, which... certainly a lot of people benefited from. Now, Dan Malone has also, in the podcast and on the show itself, there's a new website that he has set up. It's called honest.ie, and it's a price comparison. There's over 200
it's brilliant. It's
banks
about time all that was brought together, because it can be confusing for people. Fantastic. So, listen, whether you have money or not, it will be an interesting here. Dan Malone is Chris Ashmore's guest on this week's Business Matters podcast. It's available for you to listen on demand very shortly and then scheduled for broadcast on Sunday, Chris.
That's right, on Sunday after the 6 o'clock news. And if you want to contact the programme, it's businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Do you dare to dream?
Always
Premiership.
Dream.
I'm on about the Premiership.
Dare to dream, yes.
Big night last night.
There was a bit of shouting last night.
Squeaky bums, they're really nervous.
Yeah,
and it's good to see, good for Arsenal fans to see other teams falling by the wayside, but they're going to do it, aren't they? What would you moan about then? Because Arsenal fans love to.
Well, you see, I think there's overreaction, and a lot of fans are very fickle. Listen, there are twists and turns. I've seen it all before, but you're not
celebrating yet. Thanks, Chris. Chris Ashmore there.
Business Matters is brought to you by Print Supplies. Based in Frosses, Print Supplies has 21 years experience delivering managed print solutions to save you time and money. With remote monitoring and local hands-on support, they take the hassle out of printers and photocopiers. Email sales@printsupplies.ie to find out more.
And that is where we leave it on the show.